lesson Why Do We Fall Ill in this series of our Vigyan sessions. So in this lesson we will be discussing in detail about the meaning of health, about the meaning of disease. We will also be discussing about the different causes of disease, the different types of disease, classification of disease. We will also be answering questions like why does one person fall ill while the other is completely healthy, how do we cure a disease, and so on and so forth. So to begin the session, let us discuss about the definition of health. So what does health mean to you? Personally, to me, health means to be physically fit. I should be able to do my daily duties properly without having to face any discomfort, and I should also be happy. So this is what health means to me. Let us discuss about the different definitions of health. Also, before we begin, we have to remember that health and disease are interrelated. The absence of health means a presence of disease. So health and disease both are interlinked. So we will begin with health, and if you were to define health, there are three definitions of health. We will discuss these three definitions one by one. The first definition of health, it says that health is a state where one is free from disease. So the absence of disease confers a person health. Now this definition is not completely true. For instance, a person may not have any illness or disease currently, but what if he or she were to develop a disease in the future? Can you call them as healthy in the future? No, isn't it? Also, there could be a couple of other factors involved in this. For instance, the disease is not severe enough to be recognized, therefore the symptoms have not shown up currently. Or if you look at the technological aspect of it, the current system does not have advanced technology or devices to detect the disease. In the future, when new devices and new technologies emerge, there could also be detection of new diseases which previously were not able to detect. Therefore, this disease is not true. Definition number 2. If one is adequately equipped with mechanisms to cope and to function the daily needs, he or she could be called as healthy. Now, just because someone is able to do their regular duties, for example going to the market and picking up fruits, or performing various chores at your kitchen or at your home, going to office and doing the required work, does not necessarily mean that he or she has to be healthy. For instance, they may do all the physical things, but they could be stressed, they could suffer from anxiety, they could suffer from fear, they could suffer from depression. So their mental state may not be up to the mark, in which state this definition is wrong. The third definition is what we follow currently as the complete definition of health. This definition was adopted on April 7, 1948 by the World Health Organization. According to this definition, health is a state where an individual has complete physical, mental and social well-being. When a person is able to perform all the physical functions without any discomfort, when their mental health is perfectly fine, and when they are able to have a good positive attitude with other people, with the community, with the society, all these three, when they are in complete sync, complete harmony, we can call that person as healthy. It's a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. Just the absence of disease does not mean that a person is healthy. So, let us discuss these three aspects quickly. Physically fit, they should be able to do all the bodily functions without any hindrance. For example, a person suffering from polio may not be able to do that because the lower limbs are affected, which could lead to not being able to perform the functions. If a person is not mentally fit, as I already told, if their mental health is not fine, it could mean that they are not healthy. The third aspect, the societal aspect, as Aristotle says once famously, man is a social animal. We do not exist individually. We live in a group. We exist as a population. Populations lead to communities, societies. Therefore, if one were to be completely healthy, the societal aspect, the communities need to be healthy, and that is why I want to draw your attention to a very important aspect. When we talk about health, we talk about public health, the health of a population, health of a community as a whole. But when we talk about disease, we are talking about only the individual or the sufferer. So, society has a very important role to play in a person being healthy. Public health as a whole. We know organisms, we live, reproduce, survive and we die in a particular habitat, which is nothing but our physical environment, the society. Now, if the place where we stay, the environment is not clean, is not hygiene, that could attract diseases. Therefore, maintaining hygiene and sanitation is very important, is central to maintain public health. So that is where the aspect of environment or society or communities comes into existence. Let us look at a few important factors that play a crucial role in determining the public health. Now, in order to maintain hygiene and sanitation, which are of paramount importance in maintaining public health, there are 5 F's, 5 factors, 5 F's. If we follow them, we can maintain good public health. The first F is food or fluids. Fluids is important. Fluids refer to water. The source of water from where we consume it, it needs to be cleaned and it needs to be maintained. If it is not hygienic, it can cause certain diseases. For example, like loose motion or diarrhea or typhoid, etc. So fluids, as in the maintenance of cleanliness of the water source is very, very important to maintain public health. Second one is fingers, our hands, because we consume food, we drink water using our hands. So the cleanliness of the hygiene of the hands, the fingers are very, very important. In this current scenario, as the entire world is suffering from COVID-19, which is a disease caused by coronavirus, it is of utmost importance that we maintain our hands clean. It is suggested that we clean our hands with soap for at least 20 seconds to kill the virus, to kill the pathogen. Therefore, maintenance of hygiene is very, very important. Fingers. The third F is flies. Flies, a common house fly or any other insect, they can act as vectors which will carry the disease causing organism from an infected person to a healthy person. For instance, if there is litter lying around, the garbage is lying around near your home, it could attract these houseflies. These houseflies can in turn come and sit on the water bodies or on your food. For example, houseflies, mosquitoes. In this monsoon season, mosquitoes can cause a variety of diseases like malaria, dengue, chikungunya, etc. So a control over the flies is important to maintain public health. The fourth F is fields. This is the area where we cultivate all our crops. The crops that we consume like wheat, rice, etc. are grown in fields. Now, if these fields, they get polluted water, contaminated water with toxins like cadmium, mercury, lead, etc., and we consume the crops grown in such fields, it can cause biomagnification. Those toxins can enter our body and they can impair the bodily functions. Therefore, the fourth F, the source of our food, has to be maintained. And the last F, floods. You might wonder, what have floods got to do with maintaining health? Now, in case of cyclones, earthquakes, natural disasters like floods, roads, residential areas, they get flooded with water. Now, along with water, it carries the carcass, dead bodies of animals and birds. Now, once the water recedes, these dead bodies start rotting and they start smelling, which can attract disease causing organisms. Not only that, it can contaminate our potable drinking water sources. So these 5 factors will help in maintaining hygiene and sanitation. Now, all this cannot be maintained by a single individual. The community as a whole, the administration as a whole has to make efforts to take care of the 5 F's. Only then the public health can be maintained. Next topic, which is interconnected with health, that is disease. When we look at the word disease, if we split this word, then dis is disturbed and ease is to be at ease, to be comfortable. Disease in simplest form can mean disturbed ease or disturbed comfort. For example, let us say somebody is suffering from headache. You feel irritated, you want to take rest, and you are not in a state to perform functions up to the mark. Now, this headache could be simply because of many reasons. For instance, it could be because you didn't have proper sleep the previous night, you are burdened with work, you are stressed out because of that. It could be because of examination fear. It could also be because of a tumor, a brain tumor, which could be causing headache. So when we talk about disease, we know that something is not well with our body. And as I told you earlier, disease is context with the individual. If you look at it a little more deeply, what is happening in the case of a disease? Two things. One, the structure could be impaired. You are not physically fit to do the required duties. In the instance of polio, because the lower limbs are affected, it would hamper your ability to walk. In the case of a person who is blind, he or she has the organ, eyes exist, but they are not able to see because the function is impaired. Is impaired. Impaired in the sense it is disturbed or destroyed. It is not able to work properly. So disease can be defined as a state where either the structure of the body or the function, or both structure and function, both are impaired. There are certain important terms, that is the difference between disease, disorder, a symptom and a syndrome. It is very important to understand these terms. For instance, the case of a blind person, the eyes organs exist but he or she is not able to see. That cannot be called as a disease. Why? We will discuss that. Disorder, in the case of how is disease different from disorder? What are called as disorders? Symptom is very simple, that we will discuss. And syndrome, how is this different from disease and disorder? So that we will discuss in the next session. Thank you.